All right, welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Business here on CentralValleyTalk.com. I'm Mike Scott. So glad you're with us today. We're going to start talking about horses today. We have a guest from up north, San Francisco, a little north of San Francisco, the Kickin' Back Ranch. I love the name of that. This is Marialaina Batoog. Did I get that all right?
Yes, you
How
did.
are you?
I'm doing good. Doing very good.
I love horses.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Did you grow up with horses?
I did not
No.
grow up with horses. I just loved horses to no end. I think I drove my parents crazy, the teachers crazy, anybody around me completely crazy talking about horses.
So just one day you said, I want to start training, being a horseback trainer? How did it happen?
No, I always wanted to do that, and about 14 years ago, I got my first horse, and she was a Mustang, and it's just thrived from there. I have just been working with gentling wild horses and burros ever since about 2001.
Gentling?
Gentling.
Explain that for the folks at home. What does that mean? What is gentling a horse?
Well, when wild horses come in, they're really afraid of people and everything else around us because they're not.
I've heard of
used
breaking a horse, but not gentling. Is it the same thing?
Gentling, you're trying to keep the spirit of the horse while getting them to do what you need them to do. In other words, retaining their personality, because a lot of breaking techniques, the horses become a tool, their faces become very hollow, and they're just functioning, but there's no bond between the handler or the owners and the horses. And
So when you break a horse, you kind of beat it down. And you're saying that's not a good thing?
Yeah, we don't beat them down.
No, I didn't mean physically, but
Right.
I mean...
Right, I know what you mean. But if you use natural horsemanship techniques, what you're doing is you're learning how to communicate with the animals and actually work as a partner, which strengthens the bond and communication, which actually makes these animals a lot more safe on the trail or in events or whatever you're doing with them. So safety is my number one priority. People where I'm at Kickin' Back Ranch constantly hear me till I'm blue in the face, or they're tired of hearing me talk about safety. But the safety and communication all helps to strengthen the bond between them. So we play little games. We might set up mazes using poles in our horse course, or we might have a bunch of balloons, things that we can work with the horse as little games and just kind of playing instead of working. And so through these techniques, the horse learns to rely on us instead of their basic instinct of, they get scared and they just want to bolt. And as far as gentling, when they first come in, we use a lot of T-touch, which is kind of massage-type techniques. We use a polling method, which is usually the very first thing that we do when they step off the trailer and we're starting to work with them, and we've let them decompress a little bit from their trip to our place. We get a bamboo pole, and we kind of try to get it closer and closer to them until we can touch them on their shoulders. Rub it a little bit, and before they move, release it. So the reward for the horse is in the release. The bond that is created between the person that we're teaching or mentoring and the horse that they're working with is really hard to describe. We have people come out there and they go, I never knew so much about myself. So they're learning about themselves as well as the horses, because the horses are very sensitive. They can tell our respiratory rate, they can tell if we're sick, they can tell if we've had a bad day. And so it's almost like therapy, really. It's therapy working with these horses. And so what happens a lot of times, people like me will wait until they're older, financially able to, and they'll go and get a horse. So you get these horses, and they're really well trained in the beginning, and within 6 months to a year, that communication is broken down because the people don't know how to communicate with the horse. The horse is too hard for them to handle. There's issues back and forth, so they just give up on horses. Probably that happens more than half of the time. And if they do keep the horse into 5 years later, it still starts adrenaline down because they feel guilty about getting rid of the horse. Through natural horsemanship techniques, we were able to keep the horse and the human together, and they stay bonded, and it's just a beautiful thing to have somebody come up to us and just say, I didn't know I could bond like that with my horse, especially older horses. People will want to sell them, because they're getting older, they can't ride them, and they come to me and I say, well, let me show you what else you can do. You can teach them to honk horns, ring bells, play with toys, ground driving. There's all these things that you can do. And so when they get to us and we're able to help them flourish and strengthen that bond, they'd come back and they'll go, wow, to think I was going to get rid of this horse just a few months ago. I had no idea that we could have so much fun. So it's getting them out of the realm, thinking outside of the box of horses just being a tool. So.
I don't have to say a thing. You just talk. I can tell you love what you do.
I do. I have a passion for it. Yes.
Well, which is good in anything you do. So it's all about establishing trust, it sounds like, with the animal, right?
Exactly.
It shouldn't be a fear thing. It should be a trust.
Right. And people do come in, they're very fearful. They don't realize when they have dreamed about getting this horse or they're finally getting their Mustang that all of a sudden they have these fears and they don't know where they come from.
It's a big animal. It can hurt you.
It is very big,
Yeah.
and it's very different from what they see on TV. So what happens is I'll talk them through it, or some of my volunteers will talk them through it, and we reassure them, that this is a positive. What they feel is real, and that's perfectly normal. What we're there is to help them get over that. And once the communication with their horse starts to work between the two, it's almost like magic. It's just a wonderful thing. So I get a lot of joy out of watching two beings, a horse and a human, actually start working together as a team.
Is this a one-day thing, or does it take place over weeks, months,
It can
years?
take a long time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of patience. Each person is an individual. Each horse has its own horsenality. So it's trying to find...
Horsenality.
Horsenality. I did not come up with that, but that is not a term that I've coined, but it is true. We have personalities. They have horsenalities. And you might want... Willis Lamb, who is a horse trainer, I was very lucky to have him in the very beginning of my horse career, he and his wife, Sharon Lamb. I remember one time, it was my very first time touring the ranch. Previously they owned it, and we bought it from them because I wanted to continue the program. I remember he was showing us all the horses, and he said, you can go to the store and you buy all these books, and you can go and you can buy all these videos. Does not mean that horse read that book or read that video.
Good point.
That is so true. And so you have to kind of learn how to work with each other. And that has stuck in my mind. And having that kind of foundation, it's like, whoa, these are not just, you don't just pull them out of the paddock, saddle them up, and ride them off into the sunset. There's a little bit more to it. These animals think for their own.
Absolutely.
So.
Have you ever been called a whisperer?
They call our whole team. There's quite a few of us volunteers out there, and that term has been used, but really it's more about communication. It really is. It's about learning about your horse or your donkey, and them learning about you, and then learning to speak the same language. And amazingly enough, if me and my horse might speak one language that's kind of similar to maybe another mentor and their horse, but there's little cultural, if that makes sense, differences, kind of like different dialects of the same language. So trying to figure out, even with me and my horses, I might speak to one, or not speak to them, but communicate with them on one level, and this other horse, that's a little bit too much for me, and so I have to communicate completely different with this other horse. So I treat each horse as an individual being.
All right. Marialaina with Kicking Back Ranch, a natural horsemanship trainer. How can folks get a hold of you if they have a horse that needs some work?
If they need to have some work or some help or some volunteers, we actually have a program called Least Resistance Training Concepts, and they can find that on the web. They can put my name in on Google search. It comes up there. They can type Kicking Back Ranch on Facebook, and we do have a Facebook page, and I put, since I want to strengthen the bond and communication, and actually there's health issues too, I want people to be aware, I try every day to post some sort of article from a university or well-known researcher or trainer every single day on our Facebook page, so people have tools for them, that they can live by.
Next time you come, you'll have to bring a horse and show us
I would love to.
how it works. Thank you again.
It's very nice to meet you. Thank
We'll be
you.
back with more on CentralValleyTalk.com.